Stop me if you've heard this before. A 6'5" electrifying receiver transfers into Knoxville to the Tennessee Volunteers from a program that had tremendous success. No, I'm not talking about Deonte Thornton from last year. I'm talking about Chris Brazzell from Tulane that has transferred in this past offseason to the Tennessee Volunteers. And we are going to tell you right here on SEC Unfiltered why that is a huge deal for Tennessee. Hello, everybody. I'm Blayne Gilmer. Welcome into SEC Unfiltered, the best SEC entity on the internet. Have you covered for all things SEC sports. And today, looking into that move of Chris Brazzell to the Tennessee Volunteers. 6'5", just a little bit under 200 pounds, and was a go-to guy for the Green Wave last year as they won the American. They're doing great things over there. Tulane is. And when it comes down to it, guys, Tennessee needed someone to come in and be that playmaker. Yes, I know that there's guys coming back like Ramel Keaton. I know there's guys like Squirrel White. I know there's guys like Brew McCoy. All these guys coming back. You got depth pieces there in Nimrod and Webb and players of that caliber. But I don't know that there's anybody that is as proven as Chris Brazzell is. Now, I know he has to come to the SEC, and you know, people are going to be a little gun-shy after the Deonte Thornton deal there for the Volunteers last year, who had a lot of hype, guys. Quite honestly, at 6'5", 214 pounds, and being just absolutely electrifying from Oregon. Everybody thought that he was going to be that easy replacement for Jalen Hyatt, that guy that would come in there and just keep the Josh Heupel train moving with, Joe Milton at the helm, just slinging that ball 90 yards down the field, just throw it up in the air high enough. Eventually, Deonte Thornton will run under it, and all that just didn't come to fruition there. But now, with Nico Iamaleava at quarterback for Tennessee, what we saw out of him in that bowl game, particularly showing off some of his legs against Iowa, but we know what he's capable of with his arm. You add a guy like Chris Brazzell to that equation there with those other receivers, like we mentioned, Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, guys that are, looking to continue to have great success there at Tennessee. Squirrel White, the leading receiver a year ago, and had some really great moments last year. You think back to the Alabama game, that catch that he made to kind of get things started off there. You think about his performance in the Orange Bowl a couple of years ago. So when you're talking about this Tennessee team, it's not that there was a dearth of talent, at the receiver position, but you add in a guy like Chris Brazzell, and I don't think that he's being kind of talked about enough in what he can do. You go look at his film, he played with an experienced quarterback in Michael Pratt. And when you have an experienced quarterback, they know, they're able to work with you. And he was there for a couple years at Tulane. So you're able to form that rapport and be able to say, hey, if you got this corner route and this guy's playing coverage this way, I want you to keep this thing higher. I want you see this coverage, I want you to break it a little bit flatter. He can see, hey, if the safeties rotate this way and we've got this fade route called, they play zone coverage, get your head around. Look, we're going to hit you in the hole, things of that nature. So I think he's a cerebral player, is Chris Brazzell, on top of being a guy who can get open. And he's not just at 6'5", he's a guy who can drop his hips and get in and out of routes. You don't see many 6'5" receivers that are able to run whip routes and return routes and things of that nature, but he did that at Tulane, able to catch the ball out away from his body, particularly in the red zone in tight windows. That is something that receivers at times, let's just be honest with it, Tennessee had some drop issues last year. Joe Milton by no means was the polished product that many people thought they were going to get. They thought Joe Milton, they saw some of that fool's gold from the Vanderbilt game that he started for after Hendon Hooker went down a couple years ago. And then they saw the bowl game and against Clemson and thought, hey, Joe Milton is just a plug and play. He's going to get right in there. But they saw that there were some issues with being able to layer throws, with some accuracy, with some touch, things of that nature. But when Joe Milton did throw the ball well, when he did put it in the right place, a lot of times there were just flat out drops from the Tennessee receivers. You go back and look at that Austin Peay game last year that drove people crazy. The receivers and the quarterback not being on the same page and letting that one stay way too close for way too long. So when it comes down to it, this Josh Heupel offense is designed to get big, fast receivers in space and give them opportunities to stretch that defense both vertically and horizontally. But when it comes down to it, you got to be the guy who makes the play. And we know that Chris Brazzell is a guy that's able to do that. Like I said, much more proven than Deonte Thornton was when he came from Oregon to Tennessee. You got a guy who had over 40-something catches last year for 711 yards, a playmaker for a team that won football games. Make no mistake about it. When you get a player from that program at Tulane, from what Willie Fritz built there, from playing with an experience and a very cerebral quarterback in Michael Pratt, there's going to be a lot of maturity things, a lot of experiential things that Chris Brazzell can bring to Tennessee. I know it's a different system. Everybody plays much differently than Josh Heupel does for the most part. There's maybe Jeff Levy has a little bit of that in his package. Maybe Lane Kiffin has a little bit of that, but Josh Heupel's system is virtually different than everyone else's out there with the wide splits and things like that. So I'm sure there will be some things that Chris Brazzell has to get used to in terms of, maybe some the tempo, things of that nature. But when it comes down to it, once that ball is snapped, football is football, and understanding timing, understanding space, understanding how to win routes in tight coverage, that is something that Chris Brazzell can do. And I think with this addition, you didn't really know what Brew McCoy was going to be coming back from that injury. We still don't. We got to see it. Squirrel White, we kind of know what you have there. But I think with Chaz Nimrod and with Caleb Webb, you saw flashes at time, but I don't know that you're ready to say, hey, those are the two that we want to kind of go forward and be that next guy and try to get up into that upper echelon of Tennessee's rotation. I think now with Chris Brazzell, those guys can kind of continue to develop and come along, and you got a guy to go be that dog, go be that guy that can go out and win a 50-50 ball, go out and be the guy who can, go over the middle and be able to catch the ball without fear. He's shown all of these different things. And I think the understanding of coverage and some of the deep option route concepts that Josh Heupel has, like, hey, if this guy's over the top and playing here, we can sit it down here. It turns into one of two things. Some of the stuff that Bobby Petrino did way back in the day, you'll see some of that in Josh Heupel's offense. It's not just predetermined here and there. They will adjust off certain things. But when it comes down to it, guys, it is such a big benefit for Nico Iamaleava to have this guy who has played winning football, who has produced, and who is big and athletic, catches the ball well away from his body. What more could you ask as a quarterback to have added to the equation? And guys, what more could we ask than you tuning in here to talk about SEC sports with us? SEC football, it never stops. Okay, we will have the Volunteers and all the SEC teams covered as things go forward here, as we're getting closer to spring ball and then summer workouts, fall camp, and then before you know it, August 31st and all the football kickoff to the season will be here. So guys, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, greatly appreciated. I'm Blayne Gilmer. You can follow me on X using @BGilmer18. You can follow the channel, follow the network using @SEC Unfiltered. Guys, God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on the best SEC entity on the internet, SEC Unfiltered.